What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, you might already be wasting your life and you don't even know it? What if every decision you've made up to this point, every distraction you indulged in, every compromise you justified, every dream you abandoned, wasn't just an accident, but part of a pattern so subtle, so deeply ingrained that you can't see it? Pause for a moment. Breathe. Ask yourself this: am I truly living, or am I just existing? Most people never dare to confront this question honestly because the answer is terrifying. And yet it's the most important question you'll ever face. We live in a time when it's easier than ever to stay alive. Food is abundant, comfort is cheap, entertainment is endless. But surviving is not the same thing as living. Surviving is mechanical. Surviving is breathing, eating, scrolling, working, repeating. Living, however, truly living, requires something far more difficult. It requires facing the reality that most of your life is slipping away in small, almost invisible ways. The conversations you avoid because they make you uncomfortable. The work you settle for because chasing your passion feels risky. The moments of silence you fill with noise because you're afraid of what your mind will reveal. This is the great tragedy of modern existence, that millions of people spend decades chasing comfort only to realize too late that comfort was the very thing that killed their potential. The German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer once warned us about stupidity, not just ignorance, but a kind of willful blindness, a refusal to see the truth when it's staring us in the face. He argued that stupidity was more dangerous than evil, because while evil can be confronted, stupidity defends itself with indifference. Think about that. How many times have you caught yourself knowing deep down what you should do, but choosing not to act because it was easier not to know? This isn't just laziness, it's self-sabotage disguised as comfort. Nietzsche put it another way: the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. He believed that society doesn't just discourage greatness, it actively punishes it. The moment you start to live authentically, to reject the norms that chain you to mediocrity, the crowd will label you as arrogant, selfish, or insane. That's why most people never dare to break free. It's not because they don't want to, it's because they're terrified of being hated for it. But let me tell you a story. In ancient Athens, a man named Socrates was condemned to death for corrupting the youth. What was his crime? Teaching them to think for themselves, to question authority, to doubt the illusions society told them to accept. He was given a choice: exile or execution, and he chose death. Why? Because to live without truth, he believed, was worse than dying. Now ask yourself this: if you were forced to choose between comfort and truth, which would you pick? And be honest with yourself, because your daily choices already reveal the answer. Here's the uncomfortable truth: most people don't choose. They drift. They let life happen to them like a slow river carrying them downstream. One day they wake up old, wondering where it all went, asking themselves, was this it? Is this what I lived for? And it's not because they lacked intelligence. It's not because they lacked opportunity. It's because they never stopped to notice the chains they were willingly fastening around themselves. Chains made of social approval. Chains made of distractions. Chains made of fear. The Italian thinker Machiavelli once wrote that men are more easily deceived by the things they desire than the things they fear. That's why you keep scrolling instead of working, why you keep fantasizing instead of acting, why you convince yourself that tomorrow will be the day you finally change. But tomorrow is just another form of self-deception. Tomorrow doesn't exist. There is only now.
Think of how history remembers those who refuse to waste their lives. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, writing in his private journal, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. Bonhoeffer, executed in a Nazi camp because he dared to resist tyranny. Nietzsche, writing feverishly against conformity even as his own health crumbled. They were men who refused to sleepwalk through existence, men who chose truth, no matter how painful. And yet, here's the twist, most of them lived lives of suffering, not comfort. They were rejected, misunderstood, often hated. So why do we still admire them? Because deep down we know they lived with authenticity. They burned instead of fading.
Now, let's turn the mirror back on you. What is the life you're creating, day by day with your habits? When you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, what story are you writing about yourself? When you silence your own voice to avoid conflict, what truth are you burying alive? When you tell yourself, "I'll do it later," what part of your soul are you betraying? This isn't about productivity hacks or morning routines. It's about whether you are awake or asleep, whether you are living consciously or drifting unconsciously. And here's the deepest, most uncomfortable truth. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your boss, not your government, not even fate. If you don't take responsibility for your life, life will take responsibility for you. It will decide for you, and you will wake up one day as a stranger in your own story. So ask yourself, what do you truly fear? Is it failure, or is it success? Because success would demand you change. Success would demand you shed the skin of your old self, the one that clings to comfort. And change, real change, hurts. That's why so many people stay small, even when they dream of being great, because smallness is safe. Smallness doesn't demand transformation, but greatness, that's terrifying. I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're on your deathbed, looking back at your life. Imagine realizing that you never really lived, that you spent it trying not to feel pain, not to take risks, not to stand out. Wouldn't that be the worst kind of death? To die knowing that you were never truly alive? Now imagine the opposite. Imagine that even if you failed, even if you were misunderstood, even if you lost everything, you lived authentically. You burned brightly. You didn't waste your chance. Which life would you rather die with?
Here is the paradox. Living authentically will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you approval. It may even cost you relationships. But wasting your life will cost you everything. So what will it be? Will you keep drifting, pretending you'll change tomorrow? Or will you dare to wake up today? Remember this. Your life is not something you own. It's something you borrow. And one day, it will be taken back. You don't know when, you don't get to choose how, but you do get to choose what you do with it while it's yours. Plato once wrote that the unexamined life is not worth living. But in our age, perhaps the more frightening truth is this. The unexamined life isn't just not worth living, it isn't living at all. So let me leave you with one final question. Not as entertainment, not as philosophy, but as a mirror. If your life were a story and it ended tomorrow, would it be a story worth telling? Because if the answer is no, then the time to change is not tomorrow, it's now.